She is medically negligent. Ms. Sharp's voice was a stiletto. It clicked across the courtroom floor and dug right into my spine. She can't even afford his copays. She skips his refills. Ali. A complete toxically. I watched my ex-husband, Marcus, smirk from his seat. He sat next to his expensive lawyer, looking relaxed, looking comfortable. He was waiting. He expected me to shatter. He wanted the tears. He wanted me to scream, to cry, to prove to the judge that I was the hysterical, unstable woman he described in his affidavit. My hands did not shake. I sat perfectly still. I looked at the judge, my face a mask of calm. Then I calmly, slowly, straightened my small stack of papers. It was just a few pharmacy receipts in a cheap plastic folder. Marcus thought this was about my poverty. He thought he had already won. He was a fool. He was so arrogant. He didn't know. He didn't know I had been tracking the real problem for 3 months. He didn't know that I knew exactly what he had done to the trust fund. Marcus was not always this cruel. I had to remind myself of that. It was important. I had to remember the man I married, not just the monster who was trying to take my son. In the beginning, he was the man everyone loved. He had a big smile. He made big promises. He was charming. He convinced me. He convinced everyone. He was the man who held my hand so tightly when our son was born. He was the man who brought me coffee every morning. He would handle the bills. He would handle the car payments. I'm handling it. Elada, he would say. Don't you worry. I trusted him. That was his procedure. He made me dependent. When my mother died 2 years ago, she left money. It was not for me. It was not for Marcus. It was for our son, Liam. Liam is sick. He has had a severe respiratory condition since he was a baby. The doctors called it brittle asthma. It means his lungs are fragile. A common cold could send him to the intensive care unit. His life was a constant, terrifying schedule of medications, specialized nebulizers, and expensive air filters. My mother knew this. She loved Liam fiercely. She spent the last year of her life setting up his future. I remember sitting in the lawyer's office. It smelled like old books and lemon polish. My mother was weak. She was thin. But her voice was firm. I want a medical trust fund, she told the lawyer. Ironclad. For Liam's care only. Elara will be the sole trustee. The lawyer nodded. Sole truste. That is wise. Maureen. My mother looked at me. Her eyes were sharp. You will protect him, Elara. You are the only one I trust to do it. Do not let anyone else touch it. I promised her I would. I promised. Marcus was supportive at first. He held my hand at the lawyer's office. He cried at the funeral. He seemed devastated. Then, about a month after we buried her, he made his move. He sat me down at the kitchen table. He had that concerned look on his face. The one he used when he wanted something. Elara, he said. His voice was soft. He covered my hand with his. You are grieving. You are managing all of Liam's care full-time. It is too much. You look exhausted. He said I looked overwhelmed. He said I was forgetting things. This was the beginning of his gaslighting. Look, you missed paying the electric bill, he said, holding up an envelope. I felt a flash of shame. I had been so focused on Liam's treatments. Let me help, he said. Please. Add me as a co-trustee to the fund. I can manage the investments. I can handle the paperwork. I can make sure the bills are paid from it. It will be easier for you. We are a team. Remember? I was tired. I was grieving. My whole world felt like it was spinning. I looked at this man I had loved for 8 years. I trusted him. I believed he wanted to help. It was the single biggest mistake of my life. I went to the bank. I signed the papers. He became a co-trustee. For a year, everything seemed fine. On the surface, the bills were paid. The medication arrived. Then Marcus changed. He became cold, distant. He started working late. He was always at meetings. He stopped asking about Liam's doctor appointments. His phone was always locked. Always face down on the counter. Then I found the receipt. It was in his jeans pocket when I was doing laundry. A hotel receipt. For a suite at the Fairmont. It was for a night he told me he was working on a deadline at the office. My stomach turned cold. It was a procedural act. I didn't feel rage. I felt a click. Like a lock opening. I waited. I watched. I became an investigator in my own home. 2 nights later, he left his phone on the bathroom counter while he showered. He was careless. He always thought I was too stupid to look. The phone was locked. But a notification lit up the screen. A text from Jessica. The message preview was right there. Can't wait to see you tonight. Forget about her. Think about our future. His future. I looked at the text for a long time. I didn't confront him. I didn't cry. I went to the home office. I turned on the computer. I was a co-trustee. I had a right. I tried to log into the trust fund portal. The password had been changed. Password incorrect. I tried again. Blocked. He had locked me out of the account I was supposed to be managing. He left on a Tuesday. I will never forget it. Liam had a bad coughing fit that morning. I was up all night with the nebulizer. I was exhausted. Marcus came downstairs at 8 a.m. He was wearing his good suit. He was carrying 2 large suitcases. He did not say goodbye to Liam. He just placed a white envelope on the kitchen counter. I'm done. The note inside said, My lawyer will be in touch. Do not contact me. I went to the bank 2 days later. I needed to pay for a new box of filters. The joint account was empty. He had drained it. Every single dollar. He left me with $34.12. I called the credit card companies. This card has been canceled by the primary account holder. All of them. He had planned this. He had planned this for months. He had starved me of resources. He knew I could not fight back. I had to move. I had to find a place to live. I used the last of my mother's personal savings. the small amount she had left just for me. It was not much. I found a tiny apartment. It was on the 3rd floor of an old building. It had old carpets. The first thing I did was scrub them. I scrubbed them on my hands and knees for 2 days. I worried about the dust. I worried about the dust mites. I worried about Liam's lungs. I spent $40 I did not have on a used HEPA filter. I got 2 jobs. Both paid cash under the table. I could not get a real job. I had no childcare. I had no recent resume. Marcus used to joke about that. "You're not qualified to be a secretary anymore." He would laugh. It was not funny now. I cleaned offices at night. From 10 p.m. until 2 a.m., I would put Liam to bed. My neighbor, an older woman named Mrs. Petrov, would sit in our apartment and read. She would listen for him. I paid her $30 a night. Then I would take the bus. It took an hour each way. The bus smelled like urine. I cleaned toilets. I emptied trash cans. I scrubbed floors. The smell of bleach stayed on my hands. It made them raw. I came home at 3 a.m. My back ached. I slept for 3 hours. I woke up at 6 a.m. I gave Liam his morning nebulizer treatment. Then I went to my second job, stocking shelves at a tiny grocery store from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. The walk-in freezer was so cold. It made my bones hurt. I would hide in there for a minute just to cry. Then I would go back out. I was always tired. I felt like a ghost. But I never missed a treatment for Liam. I sterilized his equipment every single night in the small, chipped sink. I boiled the water on the stove. I fought with the insurance company on my cheap prepaid phone. I argued for every copay. I argued for every refill. I would sit on hold for 45 minutes at a time, just to argue over a $3 difference. I was running on fumes. But I was doing it. We were safe. Then I called the bank about the trust fund. I was still a co-trustee. I had a legal right to know. I went to the branch in person. I did not call. I needed them to see my face. I needed them to see my ID. I need a statement. I told the teller. The woman was confused. Sir Marcus stopped paper statements. She said, "All correspondence goes to his new P. O. Box." My blood went cold. "I am a trustee," I said. My voice was steel. "My name is on this account. I demand a copy of the last 6 months of statements. Send them to my new address. Send them today." I wrote down my new address. I pushed the paper under the glass. "And print me the last 30 days. Right now." She saw the look in my eyes. She went to her manager. I waited for 20 minutes. Finally, she came back. She handed me a few stapled pages. I took them. I sat down on a hard plastic chair in the lobby. I read the log. My hands started to shake. This was not a small theft. This was an excavation. Management fee, $5. Ling ling ling. Investment transfer. Apex LLC, $15. Ling ling ling. Medical hardware purchase, $20. Ling ling ling. I had not purchased any hardware. I had not heard of Apex LLC. He was stealing. He was stealing from his sick son. I tried to find a lawyer. I called 5. They all wanted a retainer. $5,000. Minimum. $10,000. To start. This is complex trust litigation. I did not have it. I did not have $500. I went to the free legal aid clinic at the courthouse. The office was crowded. It smelled like despair. The woman at the desk looked tired. She did not look up. The waiting list for a family law attorney is 6 months long, she said. She gave me a pamphlet, How to Represent Yourself in Family Court. A pamphlet. That was my weapon. A pamphlet against Marcus and Ms. Complice. Sharp. Then the court summons came. Marcus had filed for full custody. His claim was vicious. He said I was the unstable one. He said I was negligent. He had his new lawyer, Ms. Sharp. She wore a $3,000 suit. She smiled at me in the hallway like I was something she had scraped off her shoe. She submitted documents. They were thick and glossy. Pictures of his new luxury apartment. It was pristine. It had an air purifier in every room. He submitted his bank statements. They showed he was stable. He submitted the trust fund statement. The one he controlled. The one with the low balance. The one with the fake transfers. His lawyer used it as a weapon. She held it up for the judge to see. Ms. Ilara has clearly mismanaged this fund, she said. She has wasted it on unknown expenses. Now she lives in poverty. She cannot provide a sterile environment. She is a risk to her son's health. This was his plan. It was brilliant. It was pure evil. He would steal all the money from the trust. Then he would use the empty trust as proof. Proof that I was a bad mother. He would win custody. He would gain sole control of what was left. He would silence me forever. He would get the money. He would get the child. I would have nothing. I sat there in the courtroom. I had my small folder. It had my cash job pay stubs. It had the bus schedules. It had the pharmacy receipts I paid for in coins. It was a folder of poverty. It was a folder of survival. The judge looked at me. His eyes were full of pity. Or maybe it was contempt. He pitied me. He believed Marcus. He believed the lies. Ms. Ilara, the judge said. His voice was heavy. He sounded tired. These are serious allegations. Your ex-husband provides a stable, clean, financially secure environment. You seem to be struggling. I gripped the plastic armrests of the chair. I had to stay calm. I had to speak. Your Honor, I started. My voice was quiet. It did not tremble. The finances. They are not what they seem. The trust fund. Ms. Sharp stood up. She was fast. Objection. The trust fund's status is clear. The bank statements have been submitted. It has been depleted due to the defendant's mismanagement. She is now trying to deflect from her own failure. The judge nodded. Sustained. He shut me down. He agreed with her. I felt the air leave my lungs. He was going to rule against me. He was going to take Liam. All my work. All my fighting. It was not enough. I was invisible. I had no proof. I had nothing. Milavier. Ms. Sharp was not done. She did not stop. She pushed harder. She had the judge nodding along to every single lie. Your Honor, we must address the environment. Ms. Sharp stated. Her voice was loud. It was clipped. The defendant claims to live in a clean environment. We submitted photos. She pointed to a large, glossy photograph on an easel. It was a picture of my living room. It was not pristine. The couch was old. The rug was threadbare. Liam's nebulizer machine was on a small side table. It looked cluttered. We submit that this environment is not sterile. The carpet is old. Asthma requires a sterile environment. My client has a state-of-the-art air purification system in every room of his new apartment. She turned toward me. Her eyes narrowed. He has an in-home nurse on call. I wanted to scream. I wanted to explain. I wanted to tell the judge I sterilized every inch of that apartment. I boiled water every night. I scrubbed the floors until my back broke. I bought that used HEPA filter with the last of my savings. I was doing everything. But I was poor. Poverty looked like neglect in this courtroom. Ms. Ilara has no stable employment. Ms. Sharp continued. She works inconsistent cash jobs. She has no verifiable income for the court. The children deserve better than a mother who can barely feed them. I thought about the box of macaroni and cheese I bought last week. I thought about the coupons I clipped for the milk. I thought about the time I skipped eating dinner myself so Liam could have 2 helpings. I knew she did not care. She only cared about the spreadsheet. Marcus was staring straight ahead. He was playing the part of the concerned father. His face was blank. He was watching this unfold. He looked like he had nothing to do with it. He looked like he was an observer. As if my financial ruin was not carefully orchestrated by him. I thought about the week he left. I thought about the moment he changed the passwords. I thought about the way he refused to pay the medical insurance premium that month. He said it was my responsibility. It was all a procedure. A cold, planned procedure. He wanted me to fail. He needed me to fail. My failure was his success. Ms. Sharp flipped through her documents. She pulled out the bank statements. The trust fund statements. She held them up like they were dirty laundry. Your Honor, as you can see, my client provides a secure, consiste environnement, she said. The children have their own rooms. They have regular meals. They have a nanny. She paused for dramatic effect. Meanwhile, Ms. Ilara has no documented income. She is behind on utilities. She was issued a warning for late rent in February. The shame burned in my face. The rent notice. I remembered that night. I had worked 20 hours straight. I sold my last piece of jewelry. My wedding ring. I sold it for $800. I paid the rent the next day. She did not mention that part. She did not mention I sold my past to keep a roof over my son's head. The judge leaned back. He looked down at the papers. He did not look at me. He looked convinced. He looked like he was ready to rule. I knew what he believed. He believed Marcus. He believed the numbers. He believed the lies. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to explain every single choice. I wanted to tell him Marcus was a thief. I wanted to tell him Marcus was using the health of his own son as a weapon. But I had been warned. My legal aid counselor told me, do not interrupt. Do not sound defensive. Do not cry too much. Anger looks like instability. So I sat there, silent, burning with shame. My fingers dug into the edge of the cheap plastic chair. I kept my eyes on Liam. He was sitting quietly beside me. He was drawing on a small notepad with a crayon. He was a quiet, observant boy. He had his nebulizer bag beside him on the floor. Then Miss Sharp said the sentence that cut deeper than any insult she had thrown so far. She looked at the judge. She looked directly at me. Why should she get the children? Your Honor, she asked. Her voice was pure contempt. If she can't even afford to keep them alive. The question echoed in the room. Why should I get them? I held back the tears. They pressed hard behind my eyes. I knew my reality was not impressive on paper. I did not have new clothes for Liam. I could not afford fancy asthma camp. But I was there every night. I was the one who checked his breathing. I was the one who administered the life-saving treatments. I was the one who knew the exact pattern of his cough. None of that mattered to the court. Only numbers mattered. Numbers I did not have. The judge looked at me. His eyes were heavy with doubt. He opened his mouth. He was about to speak. I knew he was about to rule against me. Then I felt it. That small tug on my arm. Liam. My sweet, brave boy. He was 7 years old. He looked up at me with wide eyes. He whispered, Mom, can I show the judge the notebook I found in Dad's desk? I froze. What notebook? I stared at him. I was confused. He had never said anything about a notebook. I shook my head slightly. I did not want him to get in trouble. He did not answer me. He reached inside his coat pocket. He pulled out a small, black notebook. It was a moleskine. It was thin. He held it in his small hand. My stomach turned. I did not know what it was. But something in Marcus's posture shifted instantly. He sat up straight. He looked like a deer caught in headlights. Ms. Sharp's eyes locked onto the small black book. Her composure faltered. Liam looked at the judge. Can I give this to you? He asked. His voice was small. It was steady. The judge looked surprised. He looked at Ms. Sharp. She did not object. She was frozen. The judge nodded. Bring it here. Young man. Liam stepped forward. Small and steady. He walked past the row of polished suits. He walked past the wide eyes of the spectators. He walked past his father. He handed the notebook to the judge with both hands. The room fell into a heavy, strange silence. I could see the sweat starting to bead on Marcus's forehead. Ms. Sharp turned to him. She whispered something quickly. Her confidence was gone. The judge unfolded the notebook. He opened it. He looked down at the words. I watched his expression change. Confusion first. Then a slow, davening realization. Then something much sharper. Something like cold anger. He looked up. He looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Marcus, he said. His voice was low. It was dangerous. Would you like to explain this? The moment the judge spoke those words, the temperature in the courtroom seemed to drop another 10 degrees. Marcus's eyes widened instantly. The color drained from his face. He looked like he had swallowed glass. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Ms. Sharp leaned toward him quickly. She was whispering. Her voice was sharp. It had a thread of panic now. It was not the confident, smooth voice from before. Whatever was written in that small, black notebook had shattered their composure. I leaned forward in my seat. My heart was hammering hard against my ribs. I tried to read the judge's face. He held the notebook in both hands. He looked down at the pages again. His brow was furrowed with concentration and something else. Disgust. Then he read it aloud. Slowly. Clearly. Every single word was a hammer blow. This document is a personal ledger, the judge stated. It is titled L. M. Trust Activity, Personal Loans. The handwriting appears to be Mr. Marcus's. The dates begin 4 months before the divorce filing. He paused. He glanced over the courtroom. He looked back at Marcus. Entry date, July 10th. Note loan from L. M. Trust. Amount $15,000. Purpose down payment. New Audi. A collective gasp went through the gallery. Marcus started shaking his head wildly. The judge continued. His voice was cold. Entry date August 1st. Note loan from L. M. Trust. Amount $5,000. Purpose J. Jewelry. J. Jewelry. Jessica. The mistress. Entry date, September 20th. Note loan from L. M. Trust. Amount $30,000. Purpose seed funding. New venture. He closed the small black notebook gently. He placed it neatly on the bench in front of him. He looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Marcus, this ledger, in your own handwriting, details over $90,000 in loans you took from your 6 sons' dedicated medical trust fund. The judge stated. This was done in the 4 months leading up to your divorce filing. You then presented manipulated bank statements to this court. You claimed the low balance was due to medical expenses and Ms. Alara's mismanagement of the fund. Marcus shot to his feet abruptly. He was yelling now. His face was blotchy red. That's private. It's not real. It was a joke. A working document. I was going to pay it back. She put him up to this. Sight down. Mr. Marcus, the judge snapped. His voice was pure authority. It startled everyone. Liam jumped slightly and reached for my hand. I wrapped my arm around Liam without looking away from the judge. I was frozen. I was between disbelief and a quiet, terrifying rage. I knew Marcus was cruel. I knew he was cold. But to see the evidence, to hear a judge read it aloud in front of my child, it was a level of evil I had never truly imagined. The judge turned his attention back to me. Ms. Elara, were you aware of this specific document before today? No, Your Honor, I said. My voice was tight. This is the first I have seen of it. And your son found it. I nodded. Yes. He never mentioned it to me until now. Liam looked up at me then. He spoke softly. He addressed the judge. I was looking for my spare inhaler. Dad sometimes puts it in his desk. He said it was safer there. Liam's voice was clear. The inhaler wasn't there. But the notebook was open. I saw my name. I didn't want us to lose. The judge stared at Liam for a long moment. Then something softened in the judge's expression. You did the right thing, young man, he said. He looked back at Marcus and Miss Summonis. Sharp, Mr. Marcus, the judge said. You have intentionally and with premeditation attempted to mislead this court. You have used financial deception to manipulate the outcome of these proceedings. More importantly, you have deliberately jeopardized the health of your child. This notebook is a direct attempt to use fraud and calculated dishonesty to deny your child access to his own medical security. The judge slammed his gavel down hard. The sound echoed in the silent room. I will be reviewing this document in full and pausing this hearing immediately for a formal inquiry into Mr. Prossett. Marcus's financial and criminal conduct, the judge announced. In the meantime, given the immediate and severe medical risk to the child, primary physical and legal custody will remain with Ms. Seven. Elara. Furthermore, there will be a temporary suspension of the defendant's parenting time until this entire matter is resolved. The words sank in slowly. I heard them, but my body did not react. My brain needed a moment to make sure I had not imagined them. When they finally registered, a wave of relief hit me. My knees trembled. I pulled Liam into my arms. I pulled him close. Ms. Sharp stood silent. Her lips were pressed into a thin, tight line. Her arms were folded. She did not argue. She could not. The damage was done. Her client was a documented thief and a liar. Marcus just stared at the judge's bench. His face was a mask of shock and total defeat. He did not say another word. After the judge left the bench, the bailiff dismissed the court. I stayed seated. I wrapped my arms around Liam. He was my anchor. Did I mess up? Liam whispered into my chest. No, baby, I said. My voice cracked. You saved us. You saved us completely. He nodded once. He did not say anything else. I finally understood what kind of strength it takes for a 7-year-old child to carry something like that. He had carried the truth. I walked out of the courtroom that day. I was holding Liam's hand. I was barely feeling the ground beneath my feet. My legs were moving, but my mind was still replaying the judge's words. He had stopped the hearing. He had suspended Marcus's parenting time. He had believed me. He had finally seen the truth for himself. Outside, the air was cold. Liam let go of my hand to zip up his coat. I watched him. I felt a rush of gratitude. How do you thank a child for standing up and doing what no adult in that courtroom had the courage to do? He chose justice. He chose right. A few days later, the court ordered a formal investigation into Marcus's financial activity. This was the procedural next step. It was the moment the tide truly turned. I met with the court-appointed investigator. Her name was Ms. Trent. She was a forensic accountant. She was not a lawyer. She was just interested in the numbers. She listened carefully to me. She took notes. She never once looked at me like I was less than. She treated me like a client. She reviewed the small black ledger. She asked questions about our finances during the marriage. She wanted to know the structure of the trust fund. She requested permission to pull all relevant tax records and asset disclosures from both sides. I agreed without hesitation. I had nothing to hide. Marcus, on the other hand, did. Within a week, his carefully constructed house of cards started to fall apart. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Ms. Trent uncovered multiple accounts. They were registered to shell companies. They were in Nevada and Delaware. They were set up months before he left. This confirmed his premeditation. She found wire transfers to overseas banks. She found cash transactions that were never disclosed to the court. She found tax inconsistencies. It made it clear he had been hiding income for years. He was not just a liar. He was a criminal. Every time I received an update, I felt something slowly rebuilding inside me. It was not money. It was trust in my own memory. It was confidence in my instincts. It was the belief that maybe, just maybe, justice could exist. For so long, he had convinced everyone that I was imagining things. He had convinced parts of me too. He had convinced me that I was weak. He had convinced me I was paranoid. He had convinced me I was incapable. But now, the facts were proving otherwise. Ms. Trent's report was concrete proof of his systematic cruelty. The final hearing came faster than I expected. When I walked into the courtroom again, I was different. I stood taller. I was not wearing borrowed clothes. I had found steady part-time work cleaning offices. I had saved enough for a modest black dress. I had bought sturdy heels. They were small things, but they felt like armor. They felt like my own earned power. Marcus looked completely different too. The arrogance was gone. The smooth composure was broken. He was pale. His new lawyer spoke in short, tight sentences. She was clearly unhappy. There were no smug glances. There were no fake smiles. The courtroom had shifted. The atmosphere was heavy with expectation. The judge entered. He began the session with a direct statement. This court has reviewed the formal financial investigation into Mr. Marcus, the judge announced. We find substantial evidence of willful non-disclosure. There is evidence of asset concealment. There is evidence of manipulation of income. This was all done to gain an advantage in these custody proceedings. He paused. His eyes moved to Marcus. This behavior directly contradicts the best interests of the child involved. He looked down at me. Ms. Ilada, in light of these findings, and your demonstrated commitment to your son's well-being under extremely difficult circumstances, this court now grants you full physical and legal custody of Liam. I did not cry right away. I think part of me was still bracing for the moment to be taken away. I waited for someone to say there was a mistake. Or a change in the rules. But no one spoke. Furthermore, the judge continued. Mr. Marcus is ordered to pay backdated child support. This will be calculated based on his true, disclosed income. The medical trust fund will be placed under court protection. He will be subject to monitored visitation only, pending further review, and a full criminal investigation into the theft of funds. The judge signed the order. The gavel fell. The sound was sharp and final. It was real. Liam squeezed my hand. He did not smile, but his eyes were shining. They were steady. They were sure. Marcus was totally silent. He did not appeal. He did not object. His lawyer gathered her papers quickly. Ms. Sharp had already withdrawn from his case weeks earlier. He was alone. That night, Liam and I made pancakes for dinner. We put on the radio. We danced in our tiny kitchen. We laughed until the sound filled every corner of the small apartment. I sat on the floor afterward. I held Liam on my lap. He was quiet. He was drawing something on a notepad with a pencil. When I looked down, I saw what he had written. A picture of a small house with 2 stick figures. Above it, he had written one sentence. Home is where Mom is. That small black notebook he found was more than just evidence. It was a lifeline. It was a doorway out of fear. It was a doorway into peace. He could have hidden it. He could have thrown it away. He could have ignored it. But he did not. Because even at 7 years old, my son knew right from wrong. In a courtroom full of adults, he was the one brave enough to tell the truth. It has been 6 months since that final day in court. I still think about it often. Not just the moment the judge ruled in my favor, not just the look on Marcus's face, but the quiet strength it took to get there. The kind of strength that does not come from power or money. It comes from love. It is the kind of strength that keeps going when everything else is gone. After the ruling, life did not become perfect. I still work long hours. I still budget every grocery trip down to the last dollar. I still pick up secondhand clothes. I still clip coupons. But the crushing fear is gone. The constant pressure, the feeling that someone was waiting to take everything away, that is over. Marcus showed up to his scheduled supervised visitations 3 times. Then he stopped trying. I did not explain it to Liam in too much detail. I only told him what he needed to know. Your dad isn't ready to be consistent. Baby. You deserve people who show up and stay. Liam stopped asking after a while. He still talks about the notebook sometimes. One evening, we were sitting on the couch. Was I in trouble for taking it? He asked. I shook my head. I looked him in the eye. No, baby, I said. You were brave. You told the truth when it mattered most. He nodded. He leaned his head on my shoulder. I started going to counseling. It felt strange at first. To talk about everything out loud. To hear myself admit just how bad the emotional abuse had been. But healing needs air. The more I spoke, the more I realized how much I had internalized the shame. I realized the lie that being poor meant I was failing my child. My counselor helped me see something I hadn't before. I was not weak for struggling. I was strong for surviving. Strong for keeping a roof over our heads. Strong for showing up to court without a lawyer. strong for putting my child first every single day. One weekend, I found a steady part-time office job. It offered benefits. It was not glamorous, but it was steady. I took it. I bought a used laptop. I started taking evening classes online. I am working toward a certification in bookkeeping. It is something I was always good at. I never believed I could turn it into a real career. Now I do. Liam is doing better too. He joined the school's art club. He had one of his drawings put up in the hallway. It was a picture of a large tree with roots, thick and deep. Underneath it, he wrote one word: growing. That is what we are doing now. Growing. It does not always feel fast or easy, but it is steady. Every week, we move a little further from fear. We move a little closer to peace. Sometimes people ask me how I stayed so calm in court, how I did not fall apart. The truth is, I almost did. But when you are a mother, and your baby's health and life are on the line, you find a way to keep breathing. You find a way to keep standing. Not because it is easy, but because giving up was never an option. This story started in a courtroom. I was accused of being too poor to be a good mother. It ended with the truth being spoken by the smallest voice in the room. A child who knew what love looked like. A child who was not afraid to prove it. We did not win because we had money or perfect appearances. We won because we had honesty. We won because we stayed kind. We won because even when the odds were against us, we refused to break. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of the quiet strength it takes to keep going when everything is against you, then please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who might need to hear that they are not alone. Leave a comment below. Whether you are a parent, a survivor, or someone who just believes in truth and justice, your voice matters here. I read every single one. If you want more real stories about resilience, love, and what it means to fight for what matters most, subscribe to the channel. We are building a community here. One that sees people, not just their struggles,